Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about who has the best secondaries in Smash Ultimate. I found a whole list of players right here, and there's two very important things that you need to understand for this video. The first one is going to be the metric of how I'm choosing who the best secondary player is, and that is if we put all of these players in a tournament right now and they couldn't play their mains, who would come out on top. So pretty easy metric to understand. The second thing is that I was initially going to be ranking these players, but it was just an impossible task. So I'm just going to be eliminating them one by one. Just because I eliminate, let's say, Mkleo first, doesn't mean that he's the worst secondary player out of everyone on this list. I'm just eliminating them one by one. There is no order except for first place. And I'm actually going to eliminate someone right away in Snow. I know he has a secondary Aegis, but I've literally just never seen it actually win an important matchup. And I don't watch every single Snow VOD. I could just be ignorant. But from what I've seen of the Aegis, it doesn't have a lot of impact. And the second player that we are going to be eliminating is actually Acola. And this may be a little bit surprising to people considering that he just beat Spargo with Aegis. And you know what? That is a really good point, but the reason that I am eliminating Acola right now is because I'm 90% sure that Aegis is specifically for Spargo's Cloud, because he played Sonics at Supernova and he didn't even give it an attempt. And I know Sonics is really good at that matchup, but considering you can go from your worst matchup to at least an even matchup, it would be worth a try. Now, I could just be completely speculating there. Maybe he had a bunch of counterplaying this Sonic matchup, thought he was going to be super confident, and his Aegis is actually cracked. But from what I know about it, it seems like it's just a specific counterpick against Spargo. I think in 2 or 3 months, his Aegis is going to be one of the strongest secondaries that we have in the game, but because it's so niche right now, I'm going to be eliminating him. The next person that I'm going to be eliminating is Dabuz, and he's in a really weird situation with the 3 characters that he plays, because his best character by far is his Rosalina. He is incredible with that character, but it's also the worst of the 3 characters that he plays. Maybe if you're crazy, you think Olimar is a little bit better or worse than Rosalina, but again, that's crazy people. We don't even acknowledge them anymore, and I do think his Olimar is still quite good. I mean, he's played the character since the beginning of time. It's like riding a bike. You really never forget, but the reason that I'm eliminating Dabuz so early is specifically because of his min-min. Straight up, for a player of Dabuz's caliber, his min-min should be so much better. He just doesn't hit hard enough when he's playing the character, and his edge guarding is also not very good. I think it's because he still elects to edge guard on stage, which isn't a bad option by any means, because, you know, it's riskless, but after what we've seen Doran Migi doing, if you're not going off stage to edge guard with min-min, you just are playing the character incorrectly, and I do hope that Dabuz kind of shapes up his min-min, because I think it's such an important character for him, especially in the current meta, and I also know he could farm on it, but in the state it's in right now, I am going to be eliminating him for that. But if it was just the Olimar, he'd stick in for a couple more rounds. The Olimar kind of cooks. Editing fruit block, I just wanted to point out that Dabuz doesn't really play min-min anymore, at least not as much as he used to, so maybe it's a bit of an unfair metric to just base him off the min-min, because as I said, I do think his Olimar is quite good, so if you want to look at him just as an Olimar secondary, then he definitely would still be in contention, but I'm looking at both those characters, and the min-min brings it down. The next player that I am going to be eliminating is Tweek, and before people get mad at me, you gotta remember the rules that we set at the start. We are going to be putting all of these players into a tournament, and whoever wins is our winner, and Sephiroth ain't winning no tournament. Now, Tweek Sephiroth is very good. I actually think if I had to pick a player in the entire world to play Sephiroth, it would be Tweek. He put the most precise sword character in the game in the hands of someone as patient as that is willing to whiff punish and outspace you. You're just gonna have a good time. But I just don't think Sephiroth can do it. And if this isn't the metric that we were using, if it was just who is the best at Smash Ultimate playing every single character in the roster, Tweek might honestly win. He's played Wario, Diddy Kong, Pokemon Trainer, Wolf at the top of just to name a few. But with the rule set that we have set, I think the tier list is going to be stopping him from getting that best secondary title. The next player that I'm going to be eliminating is Mkleo, and I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone, no diss to him, of course, but I've literally seen more people on my Twitter talking about how he should drop Aegis than I've seen people talking about the election, and that's probably more of a problem with myself than it is with the community, but that's a topic for another time. The Aegis is just not up to snuff with the rest of his characters, and it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like conceptually, such a good character for Mkleo. You have one of the best sword players and one of the best whip punishers in the entire world playing a sword character, the best whip punish sword character in the game. I mean, sign me up, but for some reason, Leo has just not been able to find a ton of success with the character. Relative, of course, he's literally won a major with solo Aegis, but if I had to guess why he doesn't have a lot of success with her, it's probably because of the recovery. It just makes him play way more nervous in neutral, knowing that one mistake is gonna lead to his death, so the Aegis is gonna be eliminating Leo there, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention his other secondaries. He has a Roy that I don't really know enough about to speak on, but his Byleth is still very, very good. It's just a Tweek situation where Byleth isn't very good, so I don't think it would be able to get him the dub. But if his Byleth, or his Aegis was on par with the Byleth, I mean, that's a whole nother story. The next player that I am going to be eliminating is T. Now, T's Kazuya, I can't tell if he actually secondaries the character or if he's just like really good at the game. And honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards he's just really good at the game, because the big flaw of Kazuya is obviously going to be that neutral. But if you're T and you're better than most people that you're playing, your neutral is going to be better, i.e. it's going to be a lot easier for you to actually get those wins with Kazuya, because once you hit the electric, you hit the electric at the end of the day. And to T's credit, his Kazuya has definitely gotten a lot better. It literally used to be 90% electric and the other was like, you know, the combos. But nowadays, it is more of a real character, but I still feel like most of the time it's T just being better than his opponent rather than his Kazuya actually being good, and especially in the context of this tournament with these players involved, I don't think it's going to cut it. The next person that we are going to be eliminating is Miya, and he's in a similar situation to T in my opinion, where I just really can't tell if the Steve is good or if he's good, but I'm electing to say that he is good, because when he's playing Steve, he's not doing anything impressive with the character. He's not doing any crazy combos. He's getting his easy bake oven, 50% damages. He's sitting behind his wall, and he's reacting to what you're doing. That's how you should be playing Steve, but we're not seeing anything phenomenal out of him when he's actually playing that character. But the Mii Sword Fighter, on the other hand, I mean, he is low-key cooking with that Mii Sword Fighter. I know we haven't seen it since LSI, or not LSI, the Invitational, but it was low-key crazy. Now, that could have just been because people were bad at the matchup, but I want to give Miya some credit there. If we're not going to give him credit for the Steve, we got to give him credit for that Sword Fighter, because it absolutely cooks. But also, I don't think that you would be able to win this tournament with Mii Sword Fighter, and I don't think his Steve is good enough. And we've got our top 5, Spargo, Shootone, Riddles, Zackray, and Crepe Salee. Really quick, if you're enjoying the video, be sure to sub. I would really appreciate it. And I know I said this video wasn't in any order, and that's because it's not, but if you force me to pick a top 5, 10 times out of 10, this is the 5 people that I am going to be giving you. I think these are the only people who I consider being in contention for the best secondary in the world. And if you say anyone else, I'm just going to point and laugh at you. Actually, Tweek, still an honorable mention. But the first player from this top 5 that I am going to be eliminating is Spargo. This is probably going to shock people, considering that he just won Supernova with Roy in the Grand Finals versus Sonics, as well as getting uses out of the Aegis versus Ken. But the only time his secondaries are coming out are in the Sonic matchup. And that doesn't mean they're bad by any means. It just makes them a lot harder for me to gauge. And I'm also 90% sure that the Roy is a very similar situation to Acola's Aegis, because Spargo used to play Corn for Sonics specifically. We saw it come out at LMBM, and it didn't end up working out, and we literally have not seen the character since. Now all of a sudden we have Roy, and he's very deliberately picking those characters because Sonics is so good at the Aegis matchup. He doesn't want to play Sonic Cloud, and he can't play Sonic Aegis versus Sonic, so he's using other characters that are also good in the matchup, because as I literally just said, he uses Aegis versus Ken. So the Roy is literally just a Sonics pick, I'm pretty sure. Every other Sonic player in the world, he's going to use Aegis, and in every other situation, he's going to use Cloud. Again, if you want to have Spargo as the best secondary in the world, I think that's absolutely fine, because his Aegis is cracked, but I just think other people get more value out of their secondaries. The next player I'm going to be eliminating is Crepe Salee, and if you don't watch the European scene, you're probably surprised to see him getting this far, but if you do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I was making this video, I didn't know if I should call him a Wario main or a Steve main, because he's practically co-maining the characters, and he also has a tertiary Rob that almost beat Shattuck at Supernova. He's beaten players like Zombo with his Wario. Most of his good wins are going to be coming with Steve absolutely owning Glutony this season. He just has so many good wins on so many different players with so many different characters, but the reason that I'm going to be eliminating him is unfortunately just because with the metric I said, I just don't think that he would win the tournament, and for you to have the best secondary in the world, you also have to be like one of the best players in the world. You have to be at that level of play, and I just don't think that he's there yet. I am very confident that Crepe Salee is going to reach that level, maybe even by the end of the year, but as it stands right now, the other players with secondaries in contention are just a little better. The next player that I am going to be eliminating is Zackray. He's in a similar situation to Dabuz, where he's just cracked out of his mind on the mid-tier, but his secondaries aren't as strong. He's got the Joker, he's got the Rob, he's got the Sheik, I think still. I pray he still plays Wolf. I saw him play Sonic in that one tournament. Like, he's got so many characters that he's playing at the top level. If this was a conversation of who would win a tournament that was all random, Zackray's my pick 100%. But that's not the conversation. And I do think because Zackray has so many characters at the top level, he often neglects some of the more important aspects of his secondaries. Like Joker, for example, I don't think Zackray's Joker is particularly amazing with his gunplay. In fact, I don't think his gunplay is very good. I just think he's insanely good at Joker. Rob, you're not seeing him do a ton of zero death. At least I haven't seen it. If I'm just like trolling there and he's actually insane at Rob, you're going to have to correct me in the comments. From what I've seen of the character, it's a situation where he just seems to be fundamentally very solid at Rob. He's always been good at Rob, played that character since the beginning. beginning of time, but he's not doing any of the crazy new stuff. It's the exact same thing with Joker. He's clearly putting all of his time into the pit, which is what he should be doing. That is his main character, but because of that, some of the tech skill on his secondaries has fallen off. And we are down to our final two, Shootone and Riddles, and these two guys are really the only people who make co-mating work at the tippity top level of Smash Ultimate. And actually, again, Crepe deserves a shout out there, but technically he's a tri-main, so it doesn't even count. But it's between the Riddles, Kazuya, and the Shootone Aegis Olimar, who is the best secondary user in the world. And it's gonna be Shootone, and to be honest with y'all, it was never really close. The way that I drafted this video is I had Shootone as the best player in the world, and then I had Spargo, Zackray, Crepe, salee, and Riddles, all people that I genuinely considered, and then I had everyone else. I feel like Shootone clearly gets the most value out of his Olimar in literally every single tournament that he goes to. In fact, his best run of the year, which came at Delta, where he got 3rd place, was all Olimar, except in a losing effort to Acola. He literally just played his secondary at one of the biggest events of the year and got into the top 3. And he was playing against people's mains. If it's secondary on secondary, Shootone is going to be eating that up. He is easily the most fluent secondary user that we've ever seen in Smash Ultimate, just switching between the Aegis and the Olimar at ease. Actually, Proto Bonham deserves a shout out because he was actually goated at that. But in the current state of the game, Shootone is going to be my pick for the best secondary user in the world. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the sport. It's been absolutely unreal. I'm very curious what y'all think about this. Again, it's not really a conversation where you can rank people based off their secondaries. You could only really have someone as like the best of their secondary. But I'm curious who y'all would have as number 1. And that's all I gotta say for now. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.